So instead, our next speaker is Hannah Mitchell, who's part of the Ladypedal community group. So we're super excited to have her step in last minute. She helps organise events like this and our other events. She also leads some of our bike rides. She's based in Stockport, so she always has the longest ride home because all our meetings are in kind of like Whalley Range, Chorlton area. She's a town planner working in the policy department, and she's helping to improve the quality of cycling and walking provision in the Stockport area. So if you give a big warm welcome to our next speaker, Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I've had like 24 hours notice on this, so please be gentle with me. So my cycling story is about how I feel when cycling. Cycling for me is about much more than getting from A to B or to get fit. It actually makes me feel a whole load of emotions, and I wanted to share those with you. No. So first and foremost, cycling makes me feel nostalgic. So growing up, it was just me and my mum didn't drive, so we just cycled everywhere. My mum would cycle me around in a seat like this, just attached to the back. And one of my earliest memories is her just putting me on a patch of grass, taking the stabilisers off, and just all day going up and down on this patch of grass until I could ride. I have very happy memories of growing up and cycling as a kid and using my bike to get around in a small town. So my next feeling is safe. Cycling makes me feel safe, but I should probably say safer, because I don't always feel safe when cycling, particularly on main roads. However, cycling makes me feel safe when travelling alone as a woman, particularly in the dark. Okay, next one. So I joined university in 2012 and I didn't bring a bike with me. During my time at university, I had part-time jobs in bars and restaurants, and I felt incredibly unsafe walking home after work. And unfortunately, I did have an unpleasant experience during my first year of university. But this really spurred me on to get a bike. Literally, like the next day, I was like, right, I'm getting a bike. She was a vintage rally bike, and I absolutely adored her. She would get me home safely from work, and she also took me to university, and we had a number of great years together. I actually have a pretty funny story about this bike. It got stolen one night on New Year's Eve, and I was absolutely distraught. Woke up New Year's Day, start of a new year, bike was gone, distraught. Kind of got over it. About a few weeks later, the bike was parked outside my local pub, and I was like, excuse me. So I proceeded to stand outside next to the bike in the freezing cold, it was in January, and wait until the person came out. And you could just tell he was the one that stole the bike. So I basically forced him to give it me back, and he did. Okay, next one. So cycling makes me happy. Next one, please. Cycling makes me happy for many reasons, but I thought I'd give a specific example. So I got my first road bike when I finished university in 2017, and I got it through a cycle to work scheme once I started my first full-time job. I was so happy having a road bike. I'd never had a bike like this before, and I couldn't believe how light it was. It did take me a while to get used to the thin wheels, and I did have an unfortunate accident involving tram tracks. I think a number of us have been there. But apart from that, I really enjoyed having this bike. It was light enough for me to carry, so I felt confident taking it on the train. And at that time, I was working in Salford, so I used to take the bike on the train to work, and then I'd cycle home from work. And it was downhill back into Manchester City Centre, so that was good. Okay, next one. Sometimes cycling makes me feel frustrated. Next one. In my day job, I'm a town planner, so I love looking at how the environment around us affects the way we live and how we get around. I'm often frustrated. I'm often frustrated by the way our towns and cities have developed over the years to prioritise car travel. And the need for cycle infrastructure has often been ignored and or left as an afterthought or poorly designed. As an aside, I actually did my carbon literacy training at work today, and we were showed a video about vehicle air pollution in Birmingham, and they showed this little girl who, when she walked along a main road to get to school, she held her nose because she was so scared of the air pollution making her poorly, and that made me really frustrated and angry. But back to cycling, there are two things in particular that really frustrate me. One is when you're following a cyclopath and suddenly it stops. Where do I go? And the second one, which is the one that really grinds my gears, pardon the pun, but it's when you cycle to a new place, you've got there, you think you're really proud of yourself because you cycled there, there's nowhere to lock your bike. Or you have to do a Mission Impossible and kind of maneuver your way to the back of the building, and there they are hidden away. But that really frustrates me. Next one. However, cycling most of the time makes me feel very inspired. Next one, please. So I did want to do a collage of all the people that inspire me, but I ran out of time making the presentation last night. So just imagine. Just a quick shout out, I suppose, to all of my Ladypedal girls. You're really inspiring. Station South, all of our speakers tonight, everyone here, all of our past speakers, all of our present speakers. You all really inspire me and get me through those days where I feel a bit frustrated. Next one, please. I'm also inspired by new developments that are emerging. I feel like now more than ever there is a real push to improve cycling infrastructure, particularly in Manchester. The Oxford Road cycle lane was being installed while I was at university, so I actually had the pleasure of riding on Oxford Road both pre and post cycle lanes. And while it's not perfect, it's certainly better than it was previously, and it was really cool to watch this transition. Next one, please. I'm also obsessed by the Cyclops junctions being installed in Manchester. I personally, this is something that gets me really excited, so I think they're really cool. And I just hope they're really trying to readdress the balance between cyclists and motorists. Next one, please. Sometimes cycling makes me confused. Next one. Like when I am absolutely soaking wet, or when my hands and feet are so cold I want to cry, I think, why am I doing this? Take the other day, for example. I decided to take my new gravel bike along the River Mersey. It was an absolute mud bath. I was slipping and sliding everywhere and actually fell off into the mud at one point. I got home absolutely covered in mud and thought, have I even ever liked cycling? Next one. But when I don't feel like that, cycling makes me feel strong. Cycling makes me feel grateful for my body and for being able to get out on my bike. When I've conquered a long ride or a big hill, I always feel a sense of achievement and strength that I don't seem to get through anything else. This picture was taken last summer when Long Hill in the Peak District was closed off to cars. The road is literally just one long hill between the Whaley Bridge area and Buxton, and that made me feel really strong. It's an amazing ride. I've also moved to Stockport recently as well. And I don't know how well people know Stockport, but to get in and out of Stockport, you have to go up a hill. Either way, you've got to go up a hill. And I think the first time I managed to cycle up, I think it's King Street West, the one that's behind the train station near Edgeley. The first time I managed to cycle up that without stopping was a time I felt really strong as well. Next one, please. So cycling makes me feel adventurous. After COVID and the associated lockdowns, I felt a real craving to get out and explore. So me and my partner moved to Stockport in December 2020. And once we settled in, we started to explore more and more. So next one. So this one on the left is New Mills, I think. And this one is Mellacross on the right. And Mellacross was particularly hard, and I did have to walk some of the way, but the view at the top was worth it. So I'd recommend if ever you're in the Stockport neck of the woods. Next one, please. So cycling makes me feel connected to my friends. Next one. Again, following COVID, I really wanted to reconnect with my friends, and being able to do this outside while staying active was a real positive. Cycling has also allowed me to connect with new people. So in spring 2021, I joined Ladypedal, and I've made some amazing friends and met some amazing people through this group. Through this group, we've hosted a number of rides and events. We've held Getting About by Bikes sessions where we've tried to give practical advice to people about things like trailers, bike lights, clothes and luggage. So this picture is from one of our Getting About by Bike sessions where we let people try out cargo bikes. And this is me riding one of the Ladypedalers' dogs around in a trailer. And this one on the right, so these are the pedal party sessions, which aren't organised by Ladypedal, but they were in Alexandra Park the last 2 summers on Sundays. And but there was always Ladypedal volunteers there, and they were great as well. But one of my favourite things that we do as Ladypedal is our annual food bank ride. This is where we collect donations for a food bank by bike, and this leads me on to my next feeling, which is unashamed, because when I'm cycling, I feel unashamed and confident. Oh no. So I feel confident enough to cycle around South Manchester in an elf costume with bells that jingle when I'm riding, collecting donations for the food bank. But keep an eye on our socials, because if you want a little elf coming to pick up donations for our food bank ride, I can come and get them. So finally, I feel like I'm part of an amazing community. And I don't just mean being part of Ladypedal, but I mean the wider cycling community. I feel like I'm part of a cool club where everyone's invited, but I feel like it's a community that has the power to make a real change and do real good, and I'm very proud to be part of this community. So that's my cycling story. Cycling has been such a big part of my life, and I wanted to express all of the different feelings that it gives me. I hope that you will have a chance today or tonight to reflect on how cycling makes you feel as well, and I would be happy to hear them. But thank you all very much for listening to me.
Hello. Thank you so much, Hannah, for stepping in last minute, and I know you had to put that together very quickly, so thank you. And here we all are, some of the girls, I think most of us are here tonight. So yes, this is the Ladypedal crew. So if anyone has a question for Hannah, put up your hand. Yes, Claire.
You're a town planner. Are all the town planners in the world now aware of active travel, or is it just like a small niche who get this now?
So maybe I personally don't think it is a small niche. I only work for Stockport Council, so I can't speak for all planners everywhere. But I do feel I can see how historically town planning has not been great. But I really think now is a time where we as planners are starting to understand it. And for as much as the government doesn't help planning, I think in terms of their push on active travel and getting that into policy is helping. I think this week, Active Travel England were made a consultee on like big developments, so that's a new thing. So it'll be really interesting to see the kind of results that we get from that. But I feel positive. I mean, in the job that I'm doing, I'm helping to prepare a local plan for Stockport, and we've got a lot of good stuff going into that. Hopefully, if that gets adopted as it is. So I feel positive, and I don't think it is just a niche. I think that it is becoming more widespread.
Brilliant, great answer. Anyway, oh yes, lady with the glass on her head.
That is, yes, yeah. Yes, that's you. Yay!
Just as a town planner, I'm just quite interested at the moment around all the fantastic infrastructure that's gone in Manchester, but I'm concerned about, from a safety perspective, the different layouts and the inconsistencies. And I don't know where to go with that. You know, there are places where you've got to give way, there are places where you don't give way. How do we, and I'm a cycling instructor, how do we teach people who think that it's safe to use them when they are so inconsistent? And is there a way of campaigning? Who do we approach around making them consistent? Have you got any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question. I mean, I felt that personally. I mean, there was one piece of infrastructure in Manchester City Centre that was it's part of this whole Cyclops development, where you go around the really big roundabout, and then you come out as if you're going towards Deansgate, and then suddenly it stops. I mean, I don't know if that's been changed now because it was a while since I've ridden there, but that's one thing that's stuck in my memory. So I definitely experienced that. But I mean, in terms of who to speak to, I think it's about making sure we get that because I mean, as a town planner, we don't necessarily deal with cycle lanes as such. That's more the highways department. But I think it's more about getting people involved from the start. And as well, something that I'm really interested in is getting people of different abilities to test out cycle infrastructure as well. So I think it's about having that holistic kind of bottom-up approach where, you know, perhaps groups like Ladypedal or Station South, who have the ability to talk to wider groups of people, can kind of collate that information and send it to the relevant authorities. I mean, that's just what I'm thinking off the top of my head. But yeah, I think it's got to be this bottom-up approach where if everybody can use a cycle lane, then that's how it should be. It shouldn't just be that only the fittest or the savviest can use a cycle lane. Like you know, a child should be able to use it all the way up to the elderly people. So yeah, but in terms of how to fix that, I think it's just about working with the communities and yeah, getting those views and then finding the most relevant people to speak to about it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Hannah. Any more questions? Anyone? Okay. Thank you so much, Hannah Mitchell. We give her one last round of applause.